Eric Dubay has already had his say on the final experiment, but he's greedy and wants another one. He's come up with a video entitled Final Experiment Fakery. Interesting. Will it all be a load of nonsense? Or will Eric be onto something? How about I let all of you decide? Hello all and welcome along to another episode of Flat Earth Friday with me, Simon Dan. Thank you very much for joining me. Before we begin today, a huge thank you to the sponsors of today's video, Incogni. The number of data breaches worldwide rises every year. According to the annual data breach report by the Identity Theft Resource Center, it went up by 72% in 2023 compared to the previous year. This means that you and your loved ones are also at a constantly increasing risk of data breaches, as a growing list of data brokers holds your personal information. Your personal information is being sold or published online without you even knowing about it. Information like your name, date of birth, phone number, home address, email, relatives, etc, etc. Now, whilst you can ask data brokers to delete that personal information, the process takes hundreds of hours to do manually and requires repetition. This is why you need Incogni. Incogni reaches out to data brokers on your behalf, requests your personal data removal and then handles any objections from their side. And the whole process is automated. They also take care that your data stays off the market by conducting repeated removals, taking your data down if it pops up again. This is what makes their yearly subscription especially advantageous. And you can protect your loved ones too with the family and friends plan. You can add up to 4 members to your subscription, meaning they benefit from the exact same service that you do. You and each user added to your package can include up to 3 phone numbers from US customers, emails and addresses so they can find and remove your personal data, past and present. I've been using Incogni for over 18 months now, and this was the last report I got. 152 requests for data removal completed in that time, 152, and it saved me 114 hours. Take your personal data back with Incogni, use the code SIMANDAN at the link below and get 60% off your annual plan. That's at incogni.com/SimanDan. Right, on with today's video and the undeniably incredulous Eric Dubay. He thinks he's found some examples of fakery with the final experiment. Let's take a look at each one and scrutinise to our heart's content, shall we? Here we go.
As footage continues releasing, and astute internet sleuths continue analyzing anomalies and inconsistencies, it's becoming increasingly clear that the so-called final experiment's 24-hour Antarctic sun was just another faked event recorded on a film set.
Well, no, it's not becoming increasingly clear. It's more that you flat earthers have nothing else left to say other than fake.
Unbeknownst to most, for the past few years, portable, panoramic, 360-degree LED studio setups now exist and are being used for Hollywood productions like The Mandalorian and many others.
Oh yeah, and they just thought, let's just allow a group of globe earthers and flat earthers to use it, shall we? Have a day off, Eric. They flew a drone there, and there was footage of them landing in Antarctica. What else do you want?
Amazon Volume, or Amazon Studio 15, for example, are state-of-the-art studios which take the standard of green or blue screen technology and completely blow it out of the water. With new 360-degree panoramic LED screen studios, the entire background and ceiling or sky are digitally created in Unreal Engine, then projected live in up to 16K resolution so the actors on set can see, react, and interact with everything in real time.
The problem is, Eric, the camp they were staying at was massive. Way bigger than this studio you're referring to. There was footage of people all over the camp. This is desperate even for you, matey.
Amazon's sets comprise 3,000 seamlessly connected LED panels 80 feet in diameter and nearly 3 stories tall, enclosing 130,700 cubic feet of interactive space.
130,000 cubic feet sounds like a lot, but 80 foot in diameter means just 40 foot in radius. The camp was way bigger than that.
Keeping all this in mind, let's review some footage from the final experiment. To begin with, Watch the supposed sun circling around during their 24-hour time-lapse video, and pay close attention to its shape. Notice how the sun changes from circular to being smushed down horizontally, back to perfectly circular, then smushed across vertically, and then back again. This is not how the sun usually looks or behaves in person, or in genuine footage of the phenomenon from the Arctic.
Totally agree, but this time-lapse was filmed with an Insta360 camera. This means there were two 180-degree lenses stitched together. The changing shape of the sun was when the sun passed between those two stitched lenses. That is all.
Now, pay attention to the changes in length and direction of McToon's shadow as he paces around the base camp. In the space of walking only a matter of feet, his shadow somehow completely changes direction and triples in length.
And what is the changing variable here, Eric? Could it be the position of MC Toon compared to the person holding the camera? Yes, it could, couldn't it? Why don't you repeat this setup on a sunny day and try and get different results? I bet you won't.
Watch as his shadow stretches, contracts, and sharply changes angles within the space of just a few paces. This is not at all normal behavior of shadows being cast by sunlight, or of a man walking only a few steps.
It is when you take the perspective of the moving camera person.
The following is a simple demonstration of how light and shadows work depending on the distance of the light source. In the first example, the light source is held close to the action figure as he moves along the table, and we see quite pronounced changes in the length and direction of his shadow.
Notice that the camera recording this is not moving relative to the action figure.
In the second example, the light source is held farther away from the action figure as he moves along the table, and we see much less change in the shadow length and direction.
Again, the camera is stationary and not following the action figure as in MC Toon's video.
In reality, the sun is much farther away in scale than this demonstration allows for as well, so even the amount of change seen here is being generous. A man walking such a short distance outside should never have a shadow that changes direction 90 degrees and triples in length.
As I said, Eric, repeat the exact same thing, the same experiment on a sunny day.
Now let's watch as McToon and Austin Whitsitt respond to commenters asking them to show their breath in the Antarctic. As they blow hot air out their mouths in freezing temperatures, there should be a cloudy mist that forms in front of their faces as the water vapor in their breath condenses.
Not if it's very dry in their location with a low humidity, which it was. We've looked at this before and thoroughly debunked it, yet Eric still keeps hanging on to this one.
Instead, however, every time they blow, not a trace of fog appears. In Whitsitt's live stream, he claimed this was because the air was allegedly too dry there. Someone then asks him to pick up some snow, which he initially refuses to do because his hands would be too cold. So he turns his camera off, walks into the shed to grab some gloves, then comes back in front of the camera and exhales 1.5 breaths, which now mysteriously do show vapor appearing in front of his face.
Yeah, he just vaped. We know this. We've gone over it 1,000 times.
Only to abruptly stop again. He says to the camera, "There's a little breath. What's up now?" As if somehow proving the skeptics wrong, and claiming that he took a sip of water in the shed, which was supposed to account for it.
Once again, he vaped.
Another camera, recording from a different angle, however, caught Whitsitt while exiting the shed, doing what appears to be hitting a vape pen just before turning his camera back on. For comparative purposes, here is what someone's breath looks like during winter in Maine, USA.
Which has an average humidity in winter of 70%. Very poor comparison, Eric.
Every time you exhale, there is a visibly noticeable cloudy fog that condenses from the difference in temperature between the hot air in your lungs and the cold air outside. So after exhaling his vape hit into the camera, rather than picking up some of the snow that was all around him, for some reason, Austin walks several feet away and picks up a bit of snow from over there, then walks it back to the camera and lets it fall to the ground. If snow is everywhere all around him, why did he have to walk way over there to get some?
You can clearly see from the footage that the area that Whitsitt was standing in looked extremely compacted. He went to get the snow that was not compacted. Simple as that.
Anytime close-up footage of their feet was shown, their footprints always failed to make any impression in the snow. Here he moves his left foot, and there is no impression, footprint, or displaced snow.
Again, this snow is very compacted. Also, are you just going to ignore all the other footprints in this shot?
Another thing apparent while watching the footage was the complete lack of wind or any precipitation whatsoever. Throughout the live stream footage, I don't recall a single instance of any wind or even a light breeze strong enough to affect their hair or microphones.
Yes, well, Union Glacier is situated in a sheltered valley, protected by surrounding mountain ranges, and these act as a barrier for the strong prevalent winds.
Even on a calm, sunny day, if they were really outside and not in a studio, we should see or hear the effect of wind on their bodies or microphones, but it was mysteriously absent the entire time.
I think you know full well, Eric, that you can get days where there's no wind at all, and that's in areas that usually experience winds. This is again desperation.
Jaron, Whitsitt, and others involved also made comments several times about how the mountains in the distance seemed so close that you could touch them, but that they were actually several miles away. The mountains do seem strangely closer than they should appear, and if you pay attention to where the background and foreground meet in footage from the final experiment, particularly the 24-hour sun time-lapse, it seems we are seeing where the digital backdrop ends and the studio floor begins.
So nothing to do then with the high contrast between the white snow and the darker mountains and sky. Dear oh dear.
There is a separation line indicative of a film set apparent in much of the footage and made clear through the use of video editing technology.
You're even debunking yourself on your own video. Look! The area in shadows are black like the sky, and the shadows of the people too. So are you telling me that they chroma keyed their shadows in? Again, have a day off, Eric.
By adjusting the contrast, it becomes clear where studio reality meets digital fakery. In the 24-hour time-lapse sun footage, the mountains and sky are both chroma keyed out, showing they are both part of the studio backdrop.
And is this table leg chroma keyed out as well, Eric? Or is it the high contrast as I said earlier?
Compare this to other footage taken at Union Glacier. When chroma key is applied, only the sky disappears, leaving the real mountains untouched. This makes the case that the final experiment is potentially a mixture of doctored studio footage to fake the 24-hour sun, and other authentic footage actually taken from Union Glacier, Antarctica. The founder of this final experiment, Pastor Will Duffy, has also had a recent clip surface from a sermon of his that gives some real insight into the mind of the man behind this production.
Okay, we finally get to my conclusion on the matter.
You know what? I don't even care what he says here because it's irrelevant. They went to Antarctica, they saw the 24-hour sun, and then they went home. End of. Every single one of your silly arguments here, Eric, has been totally debunked before. Easily debunked, actually. Dear oh dear. Well, there we go. What do we all think of that one from Eric there? Let me know in the comments below what you thought on his video. As I say, we're all done and dusted for another Flat Earth Friday. Thanks so much for watching today. It truly is appreciated. If you enjoyed it, please do consider subscribing to the channel and hitting the thumbs up button too. It would be very much appreciated. Just enough time to once again thank Incogni for sponsoring today's video. Take back your personal data with Incogni. Go to incogni.com/SimonDan and use the code SimonDan to get 60% off the annual plan. I've been Simon Dan. Have yourselves a great day, and I'll see you all tomorrow for another Saturday session. See you then.